in starting my business, I had no experience, and I had to do my own fundraising. Um, at the time, I had just filed bankruptcy, I believe, a year prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no means of getting a business loan, and I was naive. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew that at this point I had to do this because this side hustle was now my only way of survival. And I had to turn this side hustle into a business.
Mm-hmm.
So now me getting laid off was really the starting point. That was a blessing in disguise, not knowing it, to start my business. But yeah, so I reached out to friends and family after basically cashing my 401k and getting penalized so much on that, taking that money, combining that with loans and gifts from friends and family. I opened my first store in Brooklyn, and that's where True Indian Hair started. And it was something I did not having any experience whatsoever, not knowing what I was doing, and being very naive about the process. I didn't know anything about marketing. I didn't know anything about business. I didn't know anything about taxes. I knew nothing. I literally knew nothing other than I wanted, well, I needed to survive. I needed to make money. At the time, I was the only person that I really knew of. I mean, and I did my research selling Indian hair in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking over 16 years ago. 16 years ago. So there were hair extensions. Before that, I was a customer of Lugos, which is a well-known hair brand that was selling hair, but it was not virgin Indian hair. So I had a hot commodity that people wanted because people were excited about this. It was available in other states, but in Brooklyn, there was no one else but me. So I knew this is something that could be great in my mind, and I knew that I needed it to be great because I needed to live and survive. And suddenly, this need and urge to make my business a success and grow it was just, oh my God, it was intense. I needed to make this work, but I really had no experience, and I made so many mistakes along the way, which is why I like sharing my story, because of these mistakes I've made, and being able to overcome those mistakes. And I still make mistakes, and I'm still learning. I'm no expert in any field of this, like, to tell you how to run your business, but I could definitely tell you my experience and share that with you, and maybe someone could learn from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's interesting. You started your business basically out of necessity, right? And you had to continue to live after you were laid off. And I find it interesting that sometimes, the the biggest challenges sort of push us in a direction to figure it out, right, and to try something new. And looking back on it we can see it as the best thing that has ever happened to us. And I see that really present in your story of from going from laid off to I have to make this work, and I'm determined to do this. And what I really appreciated was you weren't willing to let the lack of resources stop you. I see in your story that you were able to identify what you could do to make it work. Cashing out your 401k, right? Everyone says don't do that, that's the worst thing that you can do, right? But you did it anyway. And in that.
It is a risk. I kind of weighed, for me, it was like, I'm young, I'm not married, I have no kids. I
Right.
think I'll be able to recoup even if it doesn't work and be okay in, the age of retirement.
Yeah.
That was my mindset. I'm like, if I think so, it's a risk that you have to weigh the options and see if it's worth it. For me, it was like, okay, I think I could do this. And it wasn't that much in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It was less than 50,000. So I was like, I'm sure I'll be okay.
Right.
Let me do this now.
Right.
I think, if it was a whole lot more there, and I had, 4 or 5 kids, I don't know. But that was my option at the time, and it was a little risky, but I took it, and I'm
Yeah.
so glad I did it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you bet on yourself, right? A lot of this is having the confidence in yourself to take something that you kind of were just doing on the side to make it into something that was your full-time gig, and take it seriously and step into that business role, not knowing anything. There had to have been a sense of confidence, even just in yourself and your abilities to make it work, Would you say that that was the case for you?
That was definitely there. And that came from my mom. My mom had 9 kids, and I'm the last of 9. I'm the baby of the family. So, and she was a single mother of 9 kids.
Wow.
And she was a woman who was not really educated. She had probably a 4th or 5th grade educational level. And we never felt poor. She was just this hardworking woman that no matter what she came up against, she was fighting all the way through it. So I just, she was my first mentor, and the person that I watched and learned from, and it was a natural thing. It's not, I didn't even realize at the time that's what it was, but when I look back at it, my mom certainly inspired me to be that strong, because I saw her do that. This uneducated woman with 9 kids who was able to build a house that I was born in. I was born in Jamaica, and I was born in that house. I wasn't even born in a hospital. I was born at home. And it was in her house that she had built by herself, from selling cashews on the roadside. And this is a brick house, a 3-bedroom, bathroom, kitchen that she did on her own in the 70s.
So
uneducated.
Entrepreneur in a sense.
She was, and she didn't realize it, and I didn't realize it till recent, that she was the first entrepreneur that I looked up to. She didn't know she was an entrepreneur. For her, it was survival. She had 9 kids to take care of. So that's where I think I got that strength, that resilience to just keep pushing. And you get in that survival mode, and when you're in that mode, you don't sit down and fold. That's when you really transcend and grow, when you have to survive. That's when you know who you really are, what you're made up of.
Yeah, I love that. My I really appreciate that, where we come from, right? The first examples of, women leaders, women role models in our lives. And my family's from Jamaica as well, and I would hear, my mother as well saying, phrases like, if you want good, you know it's have to run. I grew up hearing that. And it's right. And it's true, it's, you work really hard, and you see them work really hard. And, a piece of that is in you as well. And I think about my grandmother, who immigrated here and created the opportunities for my mom to come, for my uncle to come, and sacrifices, the risks that she took, and for it to be possible for the rest of us, to create the lives that that we needed to have, and it is survival. A lot of it is survival as well, and raising 9 children, right? And at the time, you didn't see that struggle, you didn't see that stress, you were provided for, but you just saw your mom working really hard. Yeah,
I thought we were kind of rich. I didn't know we were poor.
Right.
I grew up in the house that she owns, so I felt like, growing up, it's like, it's her own land, her own yard, you have her own ackee tree in front of it, this, that. So it's like, I grew up thinking everything was okay. But once I got older, I saw how hard it was for her. And then when she came here, and she came here and left me in Jamaica when I was like 6. And so I didn't come to New York until I was 12. And she came and had to take a job as a home attendant. And then I came at 12 and was able to see also this hard work she still had to do, only coming home on the weekends to take care of her family. But she did it. And she did it. So it's just in me to just be that person, to just keep going no matter what I'm faced with.
God, I love
and
that.
that's how I built True Indian Hair. Like I was faced with that, and it's like, and the first couple of years was just really hard because, like I said, I had no idea what I was doing. I just, I had a job in fashion and thought I was cute, and that was it. And I'm educated. I have an associate's degree from BMCC, so I don't have an Ivy League degree. I didn't have, anything beyond that. It was for me just enough to build a good life. My mom was like, get a good job, and with all that, because she wanted me to be great, she was scared for me to step out and do the things that I did. A lot of Caribbean parents, and I don't think bad of it because that's just what she knew. Her thing was, get a job. Like me opening a business, what she was like, what are you doing? You know, it's too risky. Just get a good job. That was her thing, because that's what she knew. She didn't realize she was an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You know, because she didn't have, you know, the ability to work for a company or the education. So she felt what she did, she needed to do. But for me, the safety of a job was better in her eyes than stepping out on my own and open a business. So she didn't want me to open a business, but she was scared for me. It wasn't a bad thing. She was just scared of, you know, of me failing.
Right, right.
So I had to find an inner strength of, so my whole family was just like, what are you doing? Because they're all working. My sisters are nurses, and so they're all working. No one really were entrepreneurs. I'm really the only one in my family that's an entrepreneur of the 9 kids. You know, everyone grew up to have the safety net of the job, which is fine. Not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur.
Sure, yeah.
But I just felt the urge, and I was pushed into it. And once I got a taste of it, I was like, I felt there was no going back.
Right.
Like I would always be an entrepreneur, and I've been ever since. I've opened a restaurant and a liquor store and all of that beyond True Indian Hair. Over the years, I just have this entrepreneurial bug and spirit in me.
Right.
That's what I feel I was put on this earth to do.
Yeah, yeah. I think you said something really interesting in terms of, safety, pursuing, jobs and full-time jobs. And, especially as our parents, they want us to be safe. They want us to be okay. They want us to have a better life than they had, and sometimes without realizing, they are projecting that fear, onto us, like, I just want you to be safe. Please just take this regular job, so I know that you're okay. But you knew in your heart that that's just not, for me. And, it's okay if that's, what you want to do, but that's just not what I want. And I want to know where that comes from, with the fears of pursuing something safe. And a lot of that centers around money. And, I want to get your take on money, women and money, especially Black women and money. And, in a lot of my conversations, I hear often, that fear of not having enough, what if it runs out? What if I can't make this work? And they're all valid, concerns. But where do you see, in terms of how Black women and money, what our relationship to money is right now? And where do we need to start looking in terms of how we build a stronger sense of wealth, generational wealth, and break through some of those barriers of fear around money?
Well, someone can't build self, having that's the belief in self in you. So I don't know honestly how to explain that. I had that in me to believe that I could do it. So it's about really sitting back and finding within yourself, like, I am worthy of doing this. I'm worthy of building this, and I can do this. And not being, a lot of times, as soon as we come up against that first roadblock, we kind of quiver and back down, and we go back to the safety.
Yeah.
And it's fighting beyond that. Like I said, I started the company with filed for bankruptcy on my record. I was able to purchase my first home and my first building, where my store is in Brooklyn. I own that property. I was able to purchase both of those with the bankruptcy on my record, because I would not take no for an answer.
Yeah.
I did not, so though, after speaking of what I personally did, from, the banks told me the first time, like, we can't give you a loan for a mortgage. You have bankruptcy, and it's less than 5 years.
Yeah.
And I went to about 6 banks and said no, and I didn't stop. I did not stop until one bank, said yes. The first year, they said no, you keep rebuilding your credit. And I went back and I worked on my credit. I got secure credit cards, and I worked on that and went back again. They still said no, and I went back again. And finally, one bank was just like, okay. And I had to write all these letters explaining why I filed for bankruptcy and what I paid off and what I'm doing. But it was aggravating. It was frustrating. But I didn't let that stop me, because I knew, one, owning my home was important to me. And then with the business, I believe, and I tell people this all the time, if you can own the property where your business is located, that's the best thing for you. if I didn't own the property in Brooklyn, my rent probably would be enormous right now. That would be affecting my business. I own that property, and am trying to purchase a property in Queens, where I'm at right now. It's these things, but as far as building, because generational wealth is important. We can't, especially when you have families, when you have kids, you can't grow a business and then let it end with you.
Right.
You have generations to come. You have, this is what other people do, that we don't do in the Black community. We don't think about the future generation often enough or at all.
Yeah.
And this is what they do. Their kids are set up, their grandkids are set up, their great grandkids are set up. And we have this fear sometimes. We're selfish. I must say that, in just thinking of self and thinking of now. And I even my sister, I just had a fight with my sister recently about this, and talking about wealth and her kids, and she goes, I'll do the best I can for them now. They're adults. When they're grown, they're gonna have to take care of themselves. She's like, what I leave is what I leave. And I'm like, no, you cannot think like that. We had this huge fight about that. Because it goes beyond us, and we have to set our kids and our grandkids and their kids up to win. Because it's the society we live in now is, so many things are just set against us. We have to fight 10 times harder just to get a seat at the table. So, getting to that point, I'm working on building my generational wealth. I'm far from wealthy. I like, when people introduce me and they go empire, I don't see it that way. I still see myself, and maybe that's a testament to me always moving, trying to move forward. I still see myself as struggling, believe it or not. My company is a 7-figure company. But for me, 3 stores with online boutique, 4 stores, is not enough for generational wealth. A couple, and say this, to people who are listening, might be like, oh, really, girl? But a couple million a year is not enough when you have, the expenses are ridiculous. So, the company might make, 3-4 million a year, whatever it makes, but you don't see that, and people in business knows this.
Right.
So that's not money for wealth. That's not enough when you have, the expenses that you have employees, you have the taxes. Oh God, I hate talking about taxes. Lord. But you have all these things that you never see that money. It sounds good on paper. It sounds great to say the company makes this many $1 million.
Right.
But that money is not there. So then you have to invest in other things. You have to diversify, which is why I'm interested in real estate. Right. I purchased a property in Brooklyn for, $600,000 7 years ago. Now it's worth over $2 million. You have to do these things to build wealth beyond and put your company. I'm looking to expand through here into a franchise business. You have to think ahead and keep moving. You can't be comfortable. And I'm guilty of being comfortable at some point. I'm back in beast mode right now. I'm back in hungry thirst mode again, because you can become comfortable and too relaxed. And it could just slip out from right under you if you become too relaxed and too comfortable.
Right.
If you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to be successful and build generational wealth, you can't get to a point of, a lot of times like I said, you think $1 million, $2, $3 million is a lot of money. It's not in today's society, and that's definitely not going to be enough for your kids and your grandkids and all of that. You have to set something up that will live beyond you. Set the foundation for them to take what you've started and what you built and grow that. I want this company to be worth millions down the lines, and one day, who knows, publicly traded, just something amazing. You have to think beyond. My thinking used to be so small. Now I think anything is possible.
Right.
Despite the times and the things that we're going through now, and the fact that we're still not black people and black women, right. Especially black women, we're just not looked at as equals,
right.
At all.
Right.
So we have to fight harder, but you still have to believe that it is possible. I believe it is still possible.
Yeah. It's inviting in this different way of thinking, right? Going beyond just right now and thinking ahead, being a visionary, right? Even inviting in the possibilities that, hey, maybe I want this company to be, publicly traded. Maybe I want to, double and triple over the next few years. But even just that frame of mind, that thinking, takes you out of like the survival, like day to day, just working just to get through the day. Like we have to do that, but we also have to plan for the future too. And I think it's so easy to get caught up in the day to day and what's happening now, and not realize that we do have to plan for the future. And you're right. I think when it comes to generational wealth, we have to educate, right? We have to educate our community. We have to educate children. We have to teach them the tools as we learn them, and it's this constant learning process. But thinking about wealth as beyond a paycheck. It's not just what you get in a paycheck on the 1st and 15th or whatever that is, right?
And
Investing in real estate, getting into the stock market, these are things that are not gonna just fall in our laps, right? We have to be proactive about seeking out this information. And then once we learn it, practice it, incorporate it as part of our lives, then we teach others to do the same. And it builds that legacy. It builds sort of that ripple effect, such that when your business stops, it doesn't just stop with you. You hand it off the tools to be able to carry it forward, whether it's with your children or the community or yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And educating yourself now is not, it's so much easier in today's time, with what we have with the internet. You can actually do research yourself.
Yeah.
Even now, like when I opened True in Hair, the research I did, the information that I got, I thought was not enough to really set me up. I think you could actually sit at home and get on your computer and do research and open a business and get so much information just from your at-home research. People, you have to want to do it. You have to. It's not. No, nothing is going to be given to you, and nothing is definitely not going to be given to you as Black women.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's just we have that strike against us, so you have to go after it, and you have to feel like you deserve it, and you have to think beyond that small frame of mind and the small box, and think beyond that. And I started thinking beyond that. And initially, of course I have fears. I have fears now. I have fears. I've made some bad investment. The bar lounge I opened in Brooklyn was a bad investment. I lost $500,000 on that. But that did not make me go, oh my God, that's it. I'm done with entrepreneur. I'm done with that's, I did not go, sitting. I was depressed about it, but it didn't stop me. I didn't go sit in the corner and go, that's it.
Right.
You can't have that fear of that's it. You have to, it's like, okay, I lost that. Now, bad investment. What did I learn from that?
Right.
Take what I learned from that and on to the next.
Yeah.
It can't stop, won't stop.
Right.
All it did, can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah, those are wise words. It's like you can't let these failures, these challenges stop you, because it's part of the process. That's the theme that I keep hearing, throughout your story in this conversation, is that we can't let the barriers, the challenges stop us, because it's part of the process. And sometimes they're designed to help us see how much further we can go, and it shapes our character. These failures, these lessons, these disappointments, if you're asking the right question of what did I learn from this, it's not really a failure, because you took something away from it, so that when you do it the next time, you do it that much better. So I love that.
I would never do another restaurant, but hey.
Lesson learned on that one, right? So another thing I wanted us to talk about was this idea of, especially as Black women, we tend to take on a lot. We tend to take on a full plate and go at it alone. Sometimes it's really hard for us to ask for help, and not, this is sort of generally speaking, but sometimes it's really hard to ask for help. Sometimes we have this, superwoman complex that, we are carrying the weight of the world. We're the caretakers, we're the therapists, we're the moms, we're the best friends, and we have to do it all perfectly. And to your point, especially as Black women, we have to work that much harder, you know, and this also transfers over into our home life, right? Our personal life, our relationships, things like that.
Definitely.
And this idea of control, you know, and needing to do it all and be the person to take care of everyone. Tell me how you navigate that dynamic with, you know, how do you know when you're taking on too much, using the word no, you know, when you're, you know, just kind of exercising your own boundaries, and
Right.
the idea of control.
Actually still working through that, because I try to be it. I feel like I'm on 24/7. Uh, like now I'm doing this and I leave here. I'm going to the Manhattan store, then I'm going to the Brooklyn store. I don't think I can get to the Queen store today, but I try to visit the stores. I'm usually in one or two of the stores every day. And then I have my personal life. Yesterday I had so much on my plate, and I just what you're asking. I said to myself, Karen, you have to say no. I literally said that I had this conversation with myself, and I've had this conversation with myself over and over the years, because you want to be there to do certain things. My relationships with friends and in my personal life, I'm still a single woman. Personal relationships definitely suffer in having that. That's a whole other story though. But they're challenging, and when you were a boss and men being intimidated, and that's a whole other story, a whole other segment.
Two of this conversation.
However, it's tough for me. I have this whole control factor, so I'm involved in the business and a lot. My employees are in the stores during the day, but I'm still overseeing a lot of the stuff that goes on. And then I have the personal side and the events that I have to do, and it's like I sometimes overdo it and take on too much, and I should say no. But you want to, with my friends. My friend texted me recently. She goes, "You've changed." It's a friend of over 25 years. It's not that I've changed. I won't, this is how I talk to my girlfriends, because I'm still that girl from Brooklyn. But I was like, B, really using the full B word, because B, I'm busy. I have things going on. I can't just be there for everything you're doing. And sometimes you have to learn not to beat yourself up for what other people are feeling, because you know exactly what you have on your plate. And so over the years, I've had to learn how to not take on the guilt of what they put on me, because it's not really guilt. I'm working. I have so much to do. It's I can't apologize enough. This is what my life is, and you try to make the time, but it's really learning not to hold on to that guilt, because you do have the guilt of not being the best friend, not being the best godmother to your kids, not being the best sister to your sisters. My mom passed a year ago, so I've learned to cherish more time with my family, because you have a lot of regrets when things happen, and you can't make up for that. So, I'm actually putting family first now in front of friends, and trying to spend more time with my sisters than I do with my friends. And it's hard. I don't know how to explain, because it's really hard. Running my business, obviously, it's important. That's the way I live, and that's the legacy I'm trying to leave behind for my family. The family should be coming soon. But and my nieces and my nephews, they're family, so I'm trying to leave that behind. So that's an important facet of my life. It's probably the most important at the moment. So beyond that, it's next is my sisters, and my brothers, who are now my immediate family. My mom and my father are no longer here. And then my friends, and trying to manage that. It's really one day at a time, but you have to take time for yourself.
Yes.
And that's what, within all of that, you then have to find time for yourself.
Right.
Because running a company, running a business, it takes a toll on your body, on your mind, and you need that self-time. So sometimes you only have that one day for yourself, and your friends are calling like, I've not seen you, and it's like, but today is my time, I'm sorry. And people can't understand it, and you have to learn how to not let that be a guilt on you, and just kind of let that go. And if someone continues not being able to understand that might not be the friend for you.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but we tend to outgrow the people who are not going to understand and be supportive of our growth, you know. And I think you're right.
Mhm.
You try to, you know, be there for people, but you know, in saying no, sometimes it's that guilt, and that guilt, you know, can be so crippling, you know.
Yes.
I should be doing this, I should be doing more, I should, you know. But I think to your
And I've learned over the years just not to let that keep me out. I
right,
might feel good for a few seconds, and I have to ask myself, you couldn't. There's nothing else you could do, and you've explained this. One, you know, it's like I can't do it because, or today it's my only day, and I just need to unwind. My brain, well, week has just been exploding. I just need today for myself. And if someone cannot understand that,
right,
it's too bad. I have been called selfish, and it's not selfish.
yeah,
It's self care. It's self care. I gotta take care of me.
yeah. Yeah, and honestly, I think that, you know, selfish sometimes gets a bad rap. You know, it's like if you feel like you're, you know, putting I see it as take care of you first. If you're not good to
Right,
yourself,
and that's every time my friends say that, I replace the word with self-care, because that's yeah, it might be selfish to you, but it's self-care for
right?
me.
It's
I am first. I am first.
yeah.
Because without me at this point, because I have not built
Mhm.
that company that could literally sustain itself without me being at the head of it. Without me, it's gonna crash and burn. So
Mhm.
I cannot allow your guilt being placed on me
Right.
to destroy what I'm building over here.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it's a muscle, right? Of practicing saying that no, enforcing those
Yeah.
boundaries, right? Putting yourself first, putting the things and the people that are important to you. And sometimes over time that changes, right? You know, maybe
Yes,
it's
it
like
is. It
you
is.
reevaluate along the way, but there's so much power in saying no. And it's actually quite liberating, right? To be like,
It
actually,
is.
I'm going to stay
It is.
home tonight. I'm
It
going to
is.
get, you know, a bubble bath and watch a movie. And that's going to be,
Yeah.
yeah,
The
yeah.
power of saying no.
The
That's
power of no. Yes,
yeah.
that's going to be the new mantra for 2020. I feel
Seriously.
like
No,
more of us
seriously.
need to say
We
no.
both need to write. We both need to write an article about that. The power of no.
Yep,
You
yep.
know, no is a new yes. No, no is a new yes. No.
That's, I love that. No is the new yes. I need a t-shirt, some tote bags, like yes. Oh, Karen, this is so wonderful. I can talk to you on and on about this stuff. Thank you so much for sharing your story, for being on the podcast, and for being real. I know a lot of people are going to learn from your story. So thank you for all that you do and all that you will continue to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just want to say to people out there, like, as long as you're happy, you're doing. I mean, happiness. Just because you're overworked doesn't mean you're not happy. Because I'm overworked, but I'm happy doing what I'm doing. So it's important to be happy, to love what you're doing. In a
Mm.
sense, like
Mm-hmm.
it's working for yourself is the hardest thing you can do.
Sure.
It's the hardest thing you can do when you work for yourself. Believe it or not, you think working for someone else is hard? Wait to work for yourself.
Mm.
You like if you really dedicated to your business or your work, or building something for yourself. Um, you know, working with my boss in the company 10 years ago that I was with for 10 years. I wrote her a letter a couple years ago because I told her, I said, you know, after my mom, because she was a woman, she was a white woman, but she was a woman running this company. And I didn't realize how much I was learning from her at the time. And once I used to call, behind her back, call her with coworkers, call her the B word. Oh my gosh, she's such a B. She's this, she's that. And I said this in the letter. I said, now that I look back, and I said, we, of course, all, you were a tough boss and we called you names. And, you know, I didn't realize at the time how much I was learning from you as a woman running this company. She had about 30 employees, and it's tough. And once I had my own, I realized what she was doing, and why she had to do what she did.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
when you have your own, you're your worst. Like you're managing yourself in a sense.
Right.
And if you're doing it right and want the success you want out of it, you sometimes want to call yourself a B, because you have to be tough. You have to be strong.
Yeah.
You have to just but you have to want it, and it have to give you some type of. You have to be happy. You can't do something,
Yeah.
no matter how much money it's going to make you, if you're not happy
Right.
doing that.
Right.
Because that's not true success. True success comes when you're actually happy doing what you're doing and making a great living at it.
Mm.
That's it. That's there's a happiness that's attached to it, and not just because you're making money, but you're enjoying that. And I enjoy being an entrepreneur. I enjoy what I
Right. Oh,
do. So thank
well
you.
said. Yeah. I mean, our work is something that we spend the most time in. We have to be doing something that fulfills us and brings us joy.
Yes.
Otherwise, what's the point? Right.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
if you're going to spend so much time building your dreams, which is what we talk about a lot here, is like building your dreams, your entrepreneurial dreams, you
Yeah.
know, having that joy, having it fuel you with that joy, even after a long day, 22-hour day, 18-hour day.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
No matter, you could be burnt out, but you still enjoy.
Exactly.
Overall, I love what I do, and I love what I do, and I get burnt out. I was telling friends recently, like, I'm feeling burnt out. I mean, you have to find ways. So then that's when you have to do the self-care. But I still love what I do.
Right. Right. And as long as that love is there, that's the thing. That's the thing that motivates you. That's the
Yes,
thing that gets you through the challenges. And, going back to your why of why you started the company, why you're doing it, what gets you out of bed every morning. As long as you have that
exactly.
love for it, it's all worth it. It's all worth it at the end.
It is.
Yeah. Oh, this is so good. Thank you again for just your words of wisdom and just being a light in this world for women, for Black women, for the community, for the culture. I see you as a legacy builder, and really making your mark on this world, which is really what we encourage here. So thank you for all that you do. And thank you for being on the show. We hope to have you back again soon.
Thank you so much for having me. That's it. You guys just keep working, keep pushing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Won't stop.
Awesome. Well, stay tuned to our next episode. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.